Hi, I'm Rachel, and this is my page 112 tag for July 2025. This is also my Buzzwordathon pick for July 2025, where I am going to choose the book that will fit the cover prompt for Books and Lala's annual reading challenge. And if you would like to skip to that part of the video, the timestamp is right here. But anyway, the page 112 tag was started by Sean the Book Maniac, although I have to remember now his new booktube name. It's Sean Breathes Books. But the point of the page 112 tag was to imitate a French literary prize, wherein the long list of said prize was comprised solely by reading page 112 of the books in contention. And these were all literary novels. Page 112 is supposed to be past all the polished for editors pages when you get to the raw, real writing. And without the context of the rest of the story, you can only judge, or technically should only judge, the book based on the quality of the writing on the page. So I have been using this tag monthly since the beginning of COVID to slowly whittle down my physical unread shelves while building them back up again. I use this handy dandy Books and Cats mug. This has pieces of paper in it. These are the titles of books on my shelves that I have acquired in 2024 or earlier. And every month I pick out 3 titles at random and then read page 112 with you of the 3 and then discuss their merits and finally choose one of those books to add to my month's TBR. Or at least that's how I usually play the game. Every 4th month of the year, I spin things up a bit and do things a little differently, where I take the runners-up of the previous 3 months and pit those 3 novels, usually novels, against each other. This is a way to, cut back on post-production, which is kind of nice for me in July since it's my birthday month, so it's kind of a little gift for me, although it's a little bit of a curse too, because I really do enjoy, randomly pulling out these books. This is my fun, spontaneous TBR monthly game after all. But this is how I have been playing ever since the beginning and how I will continue to go. Of course, in this video, I will go over all of the runners-up again with you, and so without further ado, let's go back in time. After some time, an aide appeared to take Paul home, and Jacob finally found himself alone with Rachel. "You were good with him," Rachel said quietly. Jacob returned the compliment. "He was good with me." Rachel smiled. It was warm and genuine. Jacob couldn't help smiling along with her. He watched her eyes drift over to the exit. Outside the main sanctuary, Paul was being loaded up into an accessibility transport. "A lot of people don't see Paul," she said thoughtfully, "because of his disability and because sometimes he can be sort of quirky and obsessive in his interests. But you know what the Midrash says? God only works through broken vessels." Jacob swallowed. A lump of something hard and uncomfortable worked its way down from the center of his throat. Midrash? Is that some type of Jewish philosophy? Kind of, she shrugged. It's more like biblical commentary. But if you think about it, brokenness is all over the Bible. Moses has a speech impediment. God requests a half shekel and not a full shekel from all the Israelites. Even all the world was created from something unformed and void. God could have just as easily said, "I create this universe from nothing." But he didn't. So, there's probably a lesson in that. Jacob blinked. She was so smart. Rachel pushed him into conversations that were challenging, a rarity for a man more accustomed to screaming over music than having in-depth discussions with a woman at a table. "Anyway," Rachel said, staring down at her lap, "I don't want to bore you." "You're not boring me. I find it fascinating." He found her fascinating. So what's the point of it? What? Brokenness. Okay, so I have some mixed feelings about this, which kind of makes me sad because I've been so looking forward to trying out this book. I like, I guess, the idea of the beginning. Maybe I'm a little biased by the last book I've read and, remembering someone visiting someone else in a hospital. And in this situation, it's not a hospital setting, but the person who's leaving has a sort of disability. So I don't know, it's a similar sort of thing, and it's supposed to be a kindness. And I thought Jacob's words were quite nice about it. Like, he taught me something too, whatever had happened in the past 111 pages. I also really, love that there's Jewish commentary in here, and I guess I feel like Rachel's commentary on brokenness is the start to something that could be an intriguing philosophical conversation, but I don't quite buy that Jacob is so taken by it. And I feel like some of the main weakness of that whole thing is that Metzler doesn't have him respond to her. So why are we supposed to believe that he's actually being drawn into a conversation or thinking about things? I mean, I guess technically, sure, you could be thinking about things and not want to voice them, but it feels more like she's imposing this, or he's, saying something without showing it, that, oh, I'm so impressed by you, but I'm not actually going to show why. And so the whole idea of, I feel like what Rachel was saying could be the start to an interesting conversation, but it didn't actually go anywhere. And so through this page, I don't have much to go on in terms of this relationship and why it's working. And I feel like that's a shame. I don't know. I'm going to put this book down for now. I know ultimately I will, pick it up again, and I hope that I will enjoy it. I always enjoy reading the back flap about what it's about. In fact, I'm kind of surprised that Jacob seems to be the main character of, we're in his head for this page, but maybe it goes back and forth between the two of them. Who knows? And I have still hopes for this book. Only a taste, and only when Wynne isn't around. She must love that, Eleanor enjoyed trying to picture it. How's she doing anyway, with her schoolwork and all? Really well. She's a bright girl. I wouldn't be surprised if she turned out to be a writer. Are Margot, you think? I do, Eleanor said. You just wait. You sound very sure of that. Tom handed her the drink. She's already shown a lot of promise. Eleanor sipped her drink. It was so good. Or did she feel that way because Tom had made it? Some of her compositions are first-rate, as good as any student I've ever taught. Better, in fact. Oh, that's right. Trish said you used to be at Brandon Wythe. Eleanor nodded, hoping to discourage further questions. An excellent school, or at least that's what I hear. Why'd you leave? Mr. Bellamy, she couldn't call him Wynne, had asked her the same question. It was time to move on. Eleanor hoped her voice remained light and did not betray her. The song ended and Nat King Cole's Sentimental Reasons came on next. She jumped on the distraction, swaying her head and humming along to the music. Tom took another sip of his drink, set it down, and grinned at her. Shall we dance? He said. Clearly her ploy had worked. Pie forgotten, Eleanor set her own drink down and moved easily into his open arms. They danced without speaking for a few minutes, but the silence brimmed with sensation. Tom felt so different from Ira, tall, sinewy, with an expansive, easy way of moving. The song ended, and an announcer's unctuous voice came on, extolling the many considerable virtues of the latest model Chrysler. Tom let his arms remain around Eleanor, and she did not move away. So yeah, this is kind of what I was talking about from the last one, in that, or the opposite of the last one, because there was a little bit of exposition to explain Eleanor's feelings, but there was a lot of present action going on in this this page. We had a lot of dialogue, people talking in real time, and then they were dancing in real time. So I feel like that's more compelling in terms of storytelling, although I do like me some exposition. And in this case, though, I'd quibble about it. There's not a lot of exposition, but I'd quibble about it because it's, I think the author is bashing us over the head a little too much with Eleanor's concern over this question about her past work history. I mean, I think the author tells us way too many times so bluntly, she doesn't want to talk about this, she doesn't want to talk about this, and I'm like, why couldn't you just go with, like, Tom asks her about it, and then she immediately, as soon as she can, jumps onto the song to switch the topic. And if we just focused on that, or how quickly she jumped to the song, like, instead of answering, that would tell us with her actions that, she is worried about talking about this and doesn't want to talk about this, without the author telling us several times in a row, oh, I'm so nervous, I don't want to talk about this. So I'm feeling very writerly, I think, at this page 112 tag in terms of my, thoughts on these pages. But yeah, I mean, I think this is interesting. We obviously have a character with a hidden past, and she has this interest, it seems, in this other character, Tom. since we're in the middle of the book, there's a lot we just don't understand. We're in the middle of a conversation. We're talking about this character, Margot, and we can tell from the dialogue that she's Eleanor's pupil, and that we don't know how Tom, I think, fits into that equation. But yeah, so, that part is, confusing because we don't have the context, but it seems like it has promise for interesting character relationships, but I do want to quibble about, I guess, that one thing. Kind of just feels a little too pedestrian. How lucky for you, said Isabel dully. Since her sister said nothing about the torn fabric, Isabel could not take the suspense and forced the subject. Where did you find that? On the iron grate out of our window. Isabel thought fast. I crawled out to get Senor Cohen's fabric after all. I knew Papa wouldn't approve. Please don't tell. Then where is our new dress material? Demanded Beatrice. Still at the studio, if you can believe it. Yusei hasn't had the time to cut it. He was at synagoga, actually. Both he and his father. I told Senora Cohen that Papa wouldn't let us return to their house, so she said she'd ask Yusei to deliver it this week. She feels simply awful about what happened the other night. Beatrice's expression did not seem to care whether Hannah Cohen felt guilty or not. And the color? Pardon? The dress fabric. What color did you choose? Oh, periwinkle. The one you preferred the night of Sukkot. How did you get past the gates of the Juderia? Since it was such a short visit, I was able to slip out just before the hour. But it's nearly midnight. What have you been doing all night, then? Sitting in the center courtyard, writing by the moonlight. I didn't want to disturb Mamma and Papa, and I thought it best if I waited until they bedded down. Isabel removed her gloves. Come now, Beatrice. Are you quite through interrogating me? Beatrice snorted. I'm not sure. Isabel rustled around in a drawer. Here, take my fan. You always like the jewels on the handle. Beatrice snatched it from Isabel, squinting up at her sister. I think I believe you. So this is a scene, it seems, between two sisters, Isabel and Beatrice, and it is a confrontation because Isabel snuck out of the house to get some fabric, or there was torn fabric, or frankly, that part's a little confusing to me. And another part that kind of niggles at me is how this is set up. Like at the very beginning, Isabel is nervous about something. She has some torn fabric that she thinks Beatrice should notice, and so she presses the issue, and then she immediately gets defensive and says, well, this is why I snuck out after all. And it just made me wonder, instead of like prodding Beatrice to ask you something and then getting defensive about it, wouldn't it feel less suspicious if you just, I don't know, explained it in your own right, saying, well, I'm going to bring up this subject in case you're wondering about the torn fabric. I snuck out for this reason. It just feels like, it's, I don't know, it's less defensive, and that would be good if you're trying to, make an excuse for yourself. Owning it is a better choice. But then again, maybe this is just part of this character's character, that she, I don't know, the whole thing though, because, it's a tone shift too. Like she was really dull and bored, and then she prodded a subject, and then she's like hyper defensive. So it's a weird tone shift. So that's my nitpick there. Otherwise, there's like some interesting factoids. I think you'd need some knowledge of the time and place. Like the Juderia would be like a ghetto. It would be like a area that Jews were confined to in a city, and that it would be closed and locked at night so that the Jews couldn't leave. And so that's the question of like, when did you leave? When did you come back? That sort of thing. Because, they wouldn't... If Isabella were out after a certain time, she wouldn't be able to get back into the Juderia, and that would also be a problem because she's not allowed to be out. Allowed by the Catholic authorities. Also, we get a little bit into her character. Maybe she's a little dreamy. She stays out to write in the courtyard, that sort of thing. So, and maybe like, that she's trying to sneak in after her parents go to bed. Talks again how she's a little contrary, that she's doing things maybe she's not supposed to be with the writing or the sneaking out for the fabric or what have you. And then there's some references to Jewish holidays like Sukkot. And then there's finally a bribe at the end, which I guess is Isabella's best attack plan if she wants Beatrice to stay quiet about this sneaking out information. So there's some interesting stuff. Definitely some stuff you'd have to have some cultural knowledge of for it to make sense. And I'm still a little bit nitpicky about like that tone shift where she prompts a situation where then she's defensive about it, where I feel like, I mean, I guess it could be just true to the character, but it makes a lot more logical sense if, she just, instead of prompting something and getting defensive, then she just, brought it up herself and owned it. I'm trying to imitate my air conditioner to bring us back to the present. That's where I stand right now with my sound effects. So anyway, to recap, my April book was The Matzo Ball by Jean Metzler. My May book was Not Our Kind by Kitty Zeldis. And my June book was The Poetry of Secrets by Cambria Gordon. And I'm going to go ahead and put The Matzo Ball on my TBR. I think, when I analyzed all three of these books, I niggled and I found things to criticize in all of them. And in this one, I went hard after the fact that it seemed like we jumped a conversation on the page and that, the male lead was just, being way too flattering and overpraising of the female lead without, showing us why. But technically speaking, this did end in the middle of the conversation. There was a question being asked when the page ended, so maybe I was a bit harsh. Although I have to admit another reason I'm gravitating toward this, and this is bias beyond the rules of the game perhaps, is this just seems fun. It seems like a fun, fluffy romance book, not anything a little too draggy, too serious, and maybe a nice bit of relief for me. A nice chance to give Jewish romance another try, even though I was a little iffy on the last one I read, but I still, want to keep in this genre, give it a go. I've had this book on my shelves for a while, so there we go. That's my justification for The Matzo Ball. All right, and getting into my Buzzwordathon pick. So every year, for several years now, Kayla from Books and Lala has done this Buzzwordathon reading-a-thon where she mostly has focused on titles, using buzzy words that were prominent in published titles in the last year to create her prompts month by month. And this month she went ahead and also introduced the cover-a-thon, Buzzwordathon reading-a-thon, and that was, taking popular trends within covers in the last few years. And I found that the covers prompts lended themselves well to this huge book buying spree I went on back last September, my Raid the Shelves book haul. Raid the Shelves is an annual event put on by the Jewish Book Council. This is a website I basically live on and informs a huge part of my TBR. It, chronicles a lot of modern Jewish literature. And so last year and now this year as well, I went on to Manhattan from DC for their Raid the Shelves Day and was able to acquire a whole lot of books that, they were emptying their shelves from. These were books, publishers sent them and whatnot. And I had a haul of 18 books and I wanted to justify, actually getting to some of them quickly. And as you can see here, I have been diligently reading at least one book a month for this Buzzwordathon challenge. I've actually read a few more, outside of the challenge as well. So things are going really well. And I'm continuing on forward into the second half of 2025. And the July cover prompt is technology, so I am going with The Goldie Standard by Simi Monheit, because as you can see here, this seems like a cartoon lady with a cartoon cell phone, so I think that counts. So that about covers it for me. I am going to leave the Goodreads links to all of the books I mentioned listed down below and move into July with these two books. They both seem kind of bright and cartoony and fun and lighthearted. Perhaps great books to bring on a cruise with me, which I am going on pretty imminently now. We shall see. Anyway, I will be back on this channel imminently with my other TBR game. The page 112 tag is my monthly TBR game, but I also play a quarterly TBR game, the BookTube Spin, where I put 20 titles in 4 categories on a spinner wheel, and I spin this time for my spontaneous pick. So fun times ahead. And I hope you are all enjoying your July picks, whether you're going for something breezy and bright and summery or anything else. Thanks so much for watching, everyone, and I'll see you next time.